It's time to react to your Stranger Things Season 5 theories based on the teaser footage we got. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So today, I'm reacting to your theories for Stranger Things Season 5 based on the footage we got at TUDUM. I put out a post on my community tab asking you guys to submit your theories based on this footage, and I'll pick out a handful of them to react to. So I've done that, and I've also got theories from my patrons over on Patreon. So in total, I've got, 20 or 30 theories I'm going to run through here and give you guys my 2 cents on them. I say theories, a lot of them are also just predictions, but you know what I mean. Before I react to these Season 5 theories and predictions, though, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below your personal predictions, as well as your thoughts on the ones that I break down in this video, and of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 150,000 subscribers here on the channel. I mean, quite a bit. And I'm still a little under the weather, but I'm pushing through for this video, so if I cough at any point or sound a bit stopped up, it's because I'm a little sick. So I'm just going to randomly go through these, and I'll shout out the patrons as I get to them. This first one is from Tyler Salvatore over on Patreon. Thanks for being a patron. He says, Mike and Eleven might not get as much screen time together as I had expected. Through the whole filming process and the pictures we got, which wasn't much, I only saw them together once or twice and separate again in the teaser. So yeah, we never saw them together in the teaser footage we got. I imagine we'll get some shots of them in like the official teaser trailer that's gonna drop in July or August. But could you imagine Mike and Elle actually aren't together throughout the season? I'd imagine it's not because of a breakup. I know that's a popular theory. There's like a shot of them on the WSUK radio station roof, and a lot of people have said this is their breakup scene, but I never viewed it that way. They could just be separated because Hopper's got to be with Elle. Elle has to go missing or vanish, if you will. And so Mike's going to be spending a lot more time with Lucas, Will, and Dustin, the OG party, right? That could be the case, but I do think when it matters most, like near the finale and the very beginning of this season, we're still going to see Mike and Eleven together, because to me, Eleven is Endgame, and I don't know if I'm crazy for that, but that's just what I think they've been setting up since the end of the very first episode of the show, and they haven't strayed from it, so I think they're going to have very important scenes in the finale. This next one is from CBart3, another patron. Imagine how dark it would be if in that frame of Holly and Karen, they're actually looking at Vecna, and he kills both the Wheeler parents to establish how big of a threat he is, and it goes along with Nancy's vision. As I read through this, I couldn't help but think about the opening of Avengers Infinity War. I know you guys are probably like, oh, another MCU comparison. Well, I got to. It's the opening of Infinity War when Thanos asserts his dominance as the big baddie of the MCU by coming in and effortlessly wiping the floor with Hulk and then killing Loki, who was essentially the big bad of the first 3 phases for the most part, right? He said, I'm gonna kill the villain of the first Avengers, I'm gonna wipe the floor with Hulk with ease, and you know what? I'm gonna kick Thor's ass too. In like 5 to 10 minutes of screen time, he walked in and said, hey, I'm the big baddie of this universe now, fear me. That's what Vecna could do here. We already fear him, but he could come in and say, hey, I'm not playing games this time, guys. I gave Nancy this vision, and I'm gonna stay true to that. Like, I'm going to inflict pain and damage on the Wheeler family, on Hawkins, and there's nothing you can do about it. Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives all the same, and now it's here. Should I say, Vecna is.
Destiny arrives all the same.
I don't know if Stranger Things is gonna go that dark, but could you imagine Holly getting taken by Vecna and then watching both of her parents die in front of her? That would be bloody traumatizing. This next one's from the YouTube post. It says, I think the reason the Duffers censored the name for episode 2 is because it's not actually the vanishing of Holly Wheeler, but it's actually the vanishing of Will Byers Part 2, where we see what really happened to Will in the Upside Down. Unlikely, but I think Holly is too obvious. I really like this prediction. It's outside the box. I haven't heard anyone think of this, so I had to address it in the video. That'd be really unique. The Vanishing of Will Byers Part 2, or The Vanishing of Will Byers 2, whatever you want to call it. It would be fitting, and it would honestly be gutsy, especially if the majority of the episode is framed as sort of a flashback of Will's time in the Upside Down. I've said this many a times, especially over on the Patreon series, Stranger Things Rewind, which you guys gotta go check out if you haven't. We got the 4th episode dropping this weekend, but when it comes down to it, could you imagine Part 2 of The Vanishing of Will Byers? I mean, the first episode of the show is called The Vanishing of Will Byers. It's when Will gets taken. We never got to see his time in the Upside Down. My running theory, because I'm kind of all over the place right now, that I mentioned earlier, kind of teed up and then just got away from, is we're going to see consistent flashbacks of Will's POV in the Upside Down throughout the entire season, and this would be a really cool way to do that. Now, I don't know if they would want to devote a whole episode to it, unless like half the episode was Will's POV, or maybe like say they call it The Vanishing of Will Byers Part 2, and then like a good chunk of the episode, 20 minutes maybe, is devoted to that, but the whole episode being devoted to that, and only an 8-episode season would be too risky, probably not make the most sense. I still lean at being The Vanishing of Holly Wheeler. I know that's predictable, but The Vanishing of Jane Hopper is another one going around, Vanishing of Karen Wheeler, but to me, it's gonna be Holly. I think all signs are pointing to that, and I put out a recent video you guys can check out linked up above where we kind of get into that, It's a clip from Stranger Things Rewind, so go check it out if you haven't. This next one's from my buddy Ollie. Go subscribe to his channel. I'll actually link it up above. It says, the barn scene is almost definitely the Turnbow trap, with Derek Turnbow being used as bait for whatever's bashing the door down. So for those who don't know, the third episode of season 5 is titled The Turnbow Trap. Derek is the name of this new character in the show, and apparently his last name is going to be Turnbow. We've seen a sign from like a Raw Stuffer post about Turnbow Realty, and it seems like this barn is going to be the Turnbow families. That's at least my working theory. And when it comes down to it, the Turnbow trap, could Derek be used as bait? 100%. If you look at the framing of the shot, Derek Turnbow is standing above everyone else, so he could be used as bait for some reason. I'm not sure what the connection to the Turnbow family and the Upside Down actually is. Who knows? Maybe Turnbow Realty is a thing, and they sold the Creel family the Creel house, you know? So anything's possible. Who knows what the connection is going to be there? That's up to the Duffers to decide, but I'm with you, man. I like this theory, and I really do think the barn episode is going to be the Turnbow trap. This next one's from Patreon. Shout out Andrew for being a patron. He says, more of a death prediction than theory, but I think if Nancy were to sacrifice herself for Steve, it would be one of the saddest deaths in the show. We expect Steve to sacrifice himself for Nancy, but if it was roles reversed, I think it would definitely make for a very sad death. Could you imagine Nancy sacrificing herself for Steve? I don't know. I mean, we honestly are kind of all on this Steve's gonna sacrifice himself train. He's always the one to make the sacrifice play. He's always putting himself in the line of danger first. Well, theory I kind of have to twist this one on its head. Jonathan sacrifices himself for Steve and Nancy. That would be wild. I don't know how I feel. I'm kind of starting to lean towards the fact that Nancy's gonna end up with neither of them and all three are somehow gonna live. But there are gonna be bodies dropping in this final season. Not left and right, but some major characters have to go, and I'm not gonna sit here and say all three are gonna be safe, but could you imagine? I like the theory, the prediction, Nancy sacrificing herself for Steve. It'd be unexpected for sure, but we also know at the end of season 4, Nancy was the one who had the vision from Vecna, so there is a connection there. Nancy Wheeler is not 100% safe. Could it be? That'd be pretty wild. Another patron, Blaze, says, theory, 11 will not die in the end, but rather lose her powers forever, and she will go on and live a happy ending. Based on the shot we see in the teaser of her looking like she's writhing in pain from some sort of mental prison that Vecna has her in, it's tough to say. I have a really big gut feeling she's going to be the one to bite the dust. I hope I'm wrong, but I would love for her to just live a normal life, losing her powers, but be a normal girl, right? Like, that would be a great way for her arc to wrap up, but someone's got to pay the price, and I'm thinking it's going to be 11. So I hope you're right here. I really do, Blaze, but I'm too concerned that that's going to be wrong and she's going to die. Back to the YouTube community tab, this one says, in one of the last scenes where we see Will screaming run before the title card ensues, I have a theory that whatever is breaking through the military base floor has to be something huge, and I feel like whatever it is has to be that dragon that Will painted in season 4, and the red color below the metal tiles matches the dragon skin tone. So yeah, talked on this a bit earlier in a video from a couple weeks ago, and I discussed how that painting could come to life. My running theory here is that what we see busting out is the Upside Down. It's just they built this military base over the rifts, and so that's sort of rising up, and with it, I believe Vecna will make his grand entrance, and he'll almost like float up somehow with, you know, his tendrils attached to his back, whatever the hell it may be, but I think it'll be almost like a Doc Ock-esque entrance, to reference Spider-Man, where Vecna kind of busts out of the ground, but his little tendrils are sort of propelling up, almost like Doc Ock's arms, you know what I'm saying? I do think the dragon's a possibility, but I don't think it would be busting out of the ground here. That's just my opinion, but anything's possible. This would be a wild way for a dragon to make its entrance. Next one's from YouTube, and it says, I think the scene where the metal latch comes off the floor to reveal the covered Upside Down is 100% Vecna, who's about to jump out and destroy all the military. Perfect one to follow up what I just talked about, because I agree more with this theory that is going to be Vecna as opposed to a dragon. If we get a dragon, I think they'll save that for later in the season. This goes on to say, I also think that episode 6, Escape from Camazotz, describes the huge monster with a gaping mouth that Nancy described in season 4, and the clip we see in the trailer of the wall in the Upside Down could be where the creature is located. I kind of dig this theory. I'm more on the line of that wall we see being associated with like a border of the Upside Down or a way of passage between the Upside Down and Dimension X, but still, I could see this being like the entrance to the lair of whatever this new monster is. But you are right, Nancy's vision seems to be coming to fruition throughout the season as the Wheeler family is in danger, and we're probably going to see a new monster. They wouldn't have put that there for nothing. And so I think once we go back and watch the show, once season 5's out, we'll be like, oh, they're foreshadowing heavy with that vision. This one from YouTube says, what if the big wall of vines in the trailer was the heart of the Upside Down? I kind of like this, like a way to kill it. We see on the wall something that looks almost like an egg or some sort of sack. What if that's hinting at, hey, inside this wall is like the heart, or the wall itself is the heart of the Upside Down, and you have to kill it or burn it in order to destroy the Upside Down as a whole? Could it be maybe the hub, the center of the hive mind that the Upside Down possesses? Who knows? It could be like the thing that connects everything in the Upside Down. That would be fascinating, and I like that theory though, like a heart. It reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean 3 when they have Davy Jones' heart in the chest and you have to stab it in order to kill him, but then someone has to like take over. It ends up being Will Turner, obviously, but could you imagine that? Like, in order to take down the Upside Down, someone has to stay there with it. Like, if you stab the heart, you got to pay the price, and you'll only come to the right side up every 10 years or something. That would be insanity. This next one's from YouTube, and it's a great one to follow up the point I just made. It says, my theory is that Will is like the ultimate hive mind, and on the night he got taken, Vecna turns him into it. If Will lives, the Upside Down lives. If he dies, the Upside Down dies. And it might create a dilemma where the group wants to destroy the Upside Down, but the only way is to kill Will. It's a bit of a stretch, but it could be cool. I quite like this because it would create some conflict the show has not tackled, like this moral dilemma of, should we kill our friend? If we lose him, we save all these other lives. Like, yeah, it would be great. I don't know if they want to commit to that or not, but could you imagine if there was a way to maybe transfer, like someone could sacrifice themselves in Will's place so that Will doesn't have to die, and it's like Joyce, the mother for the son, or the older brother for the brother, like Jonathan for Will? That would be devastating. I feel like they're gonna set us up for some sort of heartbreak, but I quite like that theory. Will is the ultimate sort of core of the hive mind, much like how the previous theory was saying, or one that I branched off of, that the wall could be that. Another one here from YouTube says Vecna is able to torture Eleven through her mind. The shot we see seems like that's definitely going to be the case. I would honestly kind of envision it being something like out of Star Wars, where characters are able to have these conversations via the Force, almost like Vecna is able to torment Eleven through the void, through the Upside Down. I think that's likely going to be the case. This one's from Patreon. Shout out Matt. He says, Karen Wheeler goes on a badass Sigourney Weaver / Linda Hamilton-esque pissed mom rampage in an effort to find Holly after she's taken. Big fan of this because Karen Wheeler hasn't really had her moment. She had a character poster in season 4. People thought she would have a bigger role than she actually did. But could you imagine Karen Wheeler with a shotgun and we see like, oh, that's why Nancy's badass, because she's got Karen Wheeler in her genes. That would be sick. I mean, Nancy and Karen side by side, I'm here for it. You know what's funny? Linda Hamilton is actually cast in this final season. Another Patreon one here from Leo. Shout out Leo. Met him at the Upside Down Con. What a guy. He says, this one relates to Max. I believe she will be in a coma for the first 4 to 6 episodes, and we will be getting screen time of her while she is in that coma. Vecna will still be inside Max's mind, and she will constantly have to be on the run from him. But since Vecna's true form is still alive in the Upside Down and only a part of him will be in Max's mind, Vecna's full focus won't be on her. So Max will be able to gather information about Vecna's plans as well as his past. This all leads to the finale of, say, episode 5 or 6, where Vecna realizes all the info he has leaked, and he tries to kill Max once and for all, but she evades him, escaping her own mind from Vecna and waking up. Quite like this theory. I could see it being the case of this sort of mental mind game between Vecna and Max, but Vecna thinks he's got it on lock, but all the while he's distracted and Max is able to sort of be the spy. I dig it. Kind of reminds me of some season 2 vibes, and I would love to see that reverse of Max sort of tricking out Vecna. Again, I'm always a fan of characters outsmarting other characters as opposed to like winning in a fight straight up, so that would be sick to see, and I quite like the originality with this theory. I'm here for it. I just want to know what moment we're going to see Max wake up, because that has the potential to be one of the best of the season. I mean, I already have chills thinking about how it could go down, especially if the score is hitting. Whew. This next one's from Patreon. Shout out Outlaw Zorro. It says, I believe that, hear me out, Vecna will use the people who have died over the seasons and bring them back somehow as his puppets. Master of Puppets was played by Eddie in season 4, and he was a beloved character. Also, it just feels weird for the show to introduce beloved characters that were in 1 or 2 seasons just to kill them off for shock value. I've talked about this at some point in the channel. I don't remember when, but something similar to this came up. And could you imagine almost like zombie versions of every character? I mean, it would be a very big stretch for Stranger Things, and it might not work. But like Eddie, Barb, Bob, Billy, like these characters coming back from the dead. It might be too cheesy at that point, but you never know. I mean, we've seen homages to Evil Dead throughout the course of the Stranger Things show. We've seen like posters. Nell Fisher was in a recent Evil Dead movie. I haven't seen the Evil Dead films, but I can imagine demented evil versions of these beloved characters coming back from the dead. Could that taint their image? That's my only worry. I don't know. It could be a way for the Duffers to go into their horror bag for this final season. Shout out Jacob V, another patron here, who says, this fun theory is, while in the past there were character groupings where the characters were unaware of what the others were getting involved with and didn't know the connection yet, this time all the characters work as one to help each other. For example, maybe the characters at the farm set are also posing distractions, so the government doesn't catch on to the characters we know are in the upside down. Yeah, so you're saying this season everyone's sort of working collectively, like how in season 4, right? Like Hopper and Murray are fighting a Demogorgon, and all the while there's craziness happening with Vecna and the upside down and Hawkins, right? And then you've got Elle in the salt bath. So this time around, maybe you're saying they all have like an intentional plan to work as a team. I think that'll definitely be the case. It's what we've seen in season past where they kind of split up, like at the end of season 3, you know, at the Battle of Starcourt, where everyone's got an assignment as a part of this overall plan. And I think that's what we're going to see here. Like, there's going to be an intentionality with all the decisions they make. And the character groupings like Steve, Nancy, Dustin, Jonathan driving around with Steve's car and antenna. That's going to directly help maybe Eleven and Hopper in the Upside Down, who are going to somehow be benefiting Joyce and company at the barn setting. I see what you're saying, and I think you're definitely right. Like, they're going to be in unison, whereas in season 4, everyone was like spread out across the US and the globe, frankly. They're going to be all in Hawkins, and they're all going to be intentionally working together, just not in the same location, maybe. This one from YouTube says, all the new footage we saw was only from Volume 1, possibly from one episode, Episode 4, for example. I could see that being the case, but I also think that certain shots are going to be from other episodes. Like, I think one of them is probably from the Turnbow Trap. One of them definitely could be from Episode 4. The Sorcerer, that is. But I do imagine some of these shots are going to be from different episodes. Regarding the Vol 1 take, I think you're right. Everything we saw is probably just from Volume 1, and I think that's a pretty safe bet. This one from YouTube says, those other kids that Mike is protecting are Holly's friends, and they're all targets of Vecna. That's my theory. Ooh, okay, Holly's friends. Interesting. I've seen a lot of people saying they think that the younger kids are Erica's D&D party, and those are her friends that she hangs out with, and I could see that being the case because they're a similar age to Erica. We've seen Erica and Derek in behind-the-scenes shots. I could see those younger kids that are, you know, the two newbie characters, and then Derek. They could be friends with Holly, they could also be friends with Erica, but Mike jumping in front would make sense because he knows them if they're Holly's friends. So I could see what you're saying there. This next one from YouTube says, this may be a reach, but Ted dies a super gruesome death somehow from something in front of Karen and Holly, which is why Karen is holding Holly and they both look terrified. Could you imagine Ted Wheeler getting destroyed by like Vecna, his skull crushed right in front of them? That would be vicious. I mean, I don't know if they would go for that. That would be demented, evil. I mean, we've seen some pretty dark things in Stranger Things, but could you imagine the Wheeler father getting massacred in front of his wife and daughter? I mean, that would be up. There's no other way to say it. I mean, I'm not putting it past the Duffers to do it because they've done some dark things in this show, but could you imagine? Rip Ted. This one from YouTube says, in the barn shot, we see Joyce and 4 other characters behind her. However, there's a 5th character behind Joyce, but the camera's POV is hiding it. Just a thought. Ooh, who would the character be is the question I would ask, because you are right. The way it's framed, we've got Joyce front and center, and then we see Robin, Erica, Will, and then Derek Turnbow above her. Who would the other character be? Could it be Steve? Dustin? Who knows? I mean, we kind of see character groupings all around, but it's a cool idea for sure. Maybe it's both or one of the newbie kids, the younger kids. They could be there as well. And that's why Joyce is front and center. She's defending the youngest kids. That's where they're right behind her when Joyce has the axe. Could be the case. Or, hear me out, Vicky. We haven't seen her in anything, and Vicky and Robin are probably going to have some scenes together, so Vicky could be behind Joyce here. This one says, the clip in the military base with the panels getting hit off is from episode 1, The Crawl, as Vecna's army of demobats, dogs, gorgons, etc. begin to crawl out of the ground and lay siege on Hawkins. I also believe that Will got summoned to the base through his sensing abilities, and that is why he is screaming run, as you can also see him laying in the background of the military shot in the trailer. So I don't think this is going to be episode 1. I feel like that's going to be like episode 3 or 4. But if that's episode 1, then we're in for one hell of a treat this season, because that seems really big in scale already. So who knows what else they could have in store for us. Could you imagine? Like, everything we saw is from episode 1? That would be crazy, frankly. To your point, it definitely does seem like Will is injured in this shot in the teaser. I wonder when it's all going to take place, because I've thought forever that he's yelling run at the barn setting because that set video of him yelling run, like that was from the barn set apparently. And so I feel like the way they framed the trailer kind of is misdirecting the audience to think Will is yelling run at the military base. I could be totally wrong. We don't know exactly where he is. Could you imagine if the run moment wasn't even at the military base, like a lot of people are saying? That's kind of what I think, honestly. I think it could be run from whatever's behind the barn door. But I am curious to see what they're doing in The Crawl, the first episode, the title we've known for years now. This theory from YouTube says Derek Turnbow and the kids we see in the back will be a backdoor pilot to a spinoff with Erica and maybe even another character like Robin or Steve. I can see that being the case. You know, they're going to do live action spinoffs of Stranger Things. We don't know what yet. But Erica and her younger friends could be, you know, getting the torch passed to them by Mike and the older kids this season so they could have their time in Hawkins. Now, the only thing is, would it still be Stranger Things without the Upside Down and the, I guess, sci-fi elements? I'm not sure what they would do. What would the threat be? It would still have the 80s feel to it, but maybe they age them up a little, let a few years pass, and they go into the 90s and a new threat arrives. Not sure how they would go about that, but I like the ambition here with this theory. A spin-off with Erica and the younger groups, and it could be maybe centered around D&D. I'm here for it. And the last one from YouTube before we finish up with a few more Patreon theories is, in the teaser where Will is shouting run, I think the reason he's so frightened / angry is because I don't think he's actually physically telling somebody that they need to go run. And he's stuck in his own mind trying to communicate, like we see in season 2 where he uses Morse code to communicate when he's being held captive. I like that theory quite a bit. Like, he's yelling run because he's frozen, essentially, and he physically, his body is wherever Will Byers is in this scene, right? But mentally, he's elsewhere, confronting another threat, telling someone to run there, or yelling run because he sees what's to come from the upside down into the right side up. There's a lot of possibilities with it, but I definitely could see the theory of Will being frozen there because his mind is elsewhere. This next one comes from Lynn over on Patreon. It says, I believe Will definitely has powers, whether he's had them all along or got them after being exposed to the upside down or from being ingested with the slugs. I'm much more leaning towards he's had them all along, but didn't realize he had them until he was taken. I think the Hawkins version of the Upside Down we know is entirely Will's creation. He created it by casting protection. He knows all the hiding places. He also used a D&D spell reversed for clerics in D&D to freeze time / buy him more time to find a way out. This is why the Upside Down is stuck on this day. He also used should I stay or should I go to keep him safe. The spell was broken when 11 found him. This is a brilliant theory, Lynn. I gotta say, like, I just love how in-depth you went with it all, like casting protection, Will knowing all the hiding spots. As I'm watching through season 1 over on Patreon right now and doing the deep dive into every episode, I totally can see this. 11 finding Will, you know, when she reaches out even through the radio. There's a moment in season 1, ep 4, where that allows briefly for Joyce to see Will in the Byers house wall, and it's almost like whenever she uses the radio or tries to find someone via the Upside Down, it kind of strengthens the Upside Down and Right Side Up's connection, and so the two are able to like merge for a moment. It's very fascinating to think about. You are right, though. Will's a great hider. Will having powers all along could certainly make sense as to why he was the one who was taken. And then the whole frozen in time thing as well. That's a really well put together theory, Lynn. One of the most well thought out I've ever seen. And so if that happens, kudos to you, because that's some real deal theorizing right there. That's legit. I respect it.
Totally tubular.
This one's from Brittany over on Patreon. It says, my theory is the Upside Down was created to act as a barrier between Hawkins and Vecna's dimension, which makes me wonder if something happened to Will between 1979 and 1983. Was Hawkins vulnerable before 11 opened the gate to the Upside Down? 1980 was when Will and Jonathan got sick after building Castle Byers in the rain. This also is the year Holly was born, who seems to have a connection to it all. What happened in 1980? Who knows? They could definitely answer this with a series of flashbacks. I think there was a report a long time ago that we were going to see a younger Jonathan, Mike, and Will at some point. I don't know if that was legit or if that's going to happen or not, but that could be relating to something along these lines. So flashbacks, this show's no stranger to them. The opening of season 4 was in 1979, and we got a lot of things from that Massacre at Hawkins Lab time period, and so we could totally get some 1980 flashbacks. We gotta figure out why the Upside Down exists, and we're gonna get that answer, but this is certainly an interesting theory. This next one's from Ian over on Patreon. It says, based off of the teaser alone, I think Elle might end up dying at the end of the season as she sacrifices herself to save everyone. that she loves dear to herself. Max might be in a coma for the first 1 or 2 episodes, but once she wakes up, she has that fear that Vecna might actually kill her this time due to being unsuccessful the last time, but Max will manage to stop it at the very end. The Upside Down will end up collapsing and disappearing. However, a major sacrifice will have to be made in order for that to happen. And finally, Joyce and Hopper will end up together. There's a lot that will take place in this final season, but based on how far we've come, it'll be interesting to see if this show will end on a happy or sad note. I'm going to go ahead and say right now it's going to end on a happy note. There's no way they're going to end this series on a sad note. The Duffers love it too much, and sure, we could have deaths, but ultimately there will be a sense of happiness as evil has been defeated, the Upside Down is no more. I think it's going to have an overall bittersweet feel to it, but happiness will win out. We'll be more sad because, like, we got to say goodbye to it, but we won't be sad that they messed up the ending or, oh my gosh, how devastating. I do think there's going to be some serious loss, but happiness will still win out. It's going to be a mixed bag of emotions for sure. Jopper supremacy, absolutely, to answer the last part of this. And Elle sacrificing herself, I'm with you. I know that's kind of become a very popular prediction, so it's not anything crazy to say, but I'm with you. I think that's probably going to be the case. And the final theory for the video, based on the teaser footage, I'll probably redo this as we get more footage and trailers. Let me know if you would like to see that down below. The final one comes from Dylan. It's fitting to end with this one. This is a patron. Shout out Dylan. It says, I think the show will end with a massive time jump to present day, and it shows the kids of the surviving characters doing their own thing, and they'll think everything their parents did in the 80s is lame, but not only will it give the main characters an ending, but it will set things up for a spin-off set in present day where someone from the Upside Down returns in Hawkins and kidnaps a kid that is connected to a main character, and I think that's how the show will end. I don't know if they want to commit to like setting up a spin-off that soon, but they could leave the door open somehow. I don't know if we're going to jump that far in advance to see our main kids have kids, because that kind of closes the door on like a sequel series within the next 10 years or something like that, where to Rise Up, where we see, the main kids return, but they're like post-college, you know what I'm saying? I could see the vision here, sort of like a Harry Potter type ending where we see them all grown up in the epilogue and their kids going off to Hogwarts. I could see something like that. And I wouldn't be mad about it. It's just, how would they age them up? They would have to almost recast, because the kids are still way too young to be playing, 30-year-olds? I mean, I know people joke about that. It could be like Steve and Nancy's kids, but like to have Mike and Eleven having kids, I mean, they're still too young, really, to age up that much. So it's a fascinating theory, though. Like, will we get an epilogue that far in advance? I think it'll be more like graduation, but I like the idea here. And if they were to do a sequel show to Stranger Things, it would make sense for it to have the kids of current kids involved, but that might not be something we get for 20 or 25 years. So many times we get legacy sequels to shows or movies years down the road. Look at Cobra Kai. That was 2018 when it started up, and Karate Kid was 1984. So, like, look, we could wait decades to get another Stranger Things show with like originals returning, the Duffers coming back to the world after all these years. It's food for thought, definitely. And if the Duffers are directly involved, I'm going to trust them. But that does it for reacting to your Stranger Things Season 5 theories based on the teaser footage. Let me know your predictions and theories down below, as well as your thoughts on all the ones I broke down. Of course, hit that like button, subscribe, and that notification bell. And if you want extra content, including Stranger Things Rewind, which is a deep dive series into every episode of Stranger Things, as well as extra live streams and videos, Patreon is the place to be. Any support over there truly does mean the world and allows me to continue making these videos. But that's going to do it. Thank you guys, as always, for watching, and until next time, I'll see you on the other side of the Upside Down.